Okay, so we have another quote. Interestingly, it comes from Oprah Winfrey, but let's take a look at what she said. If you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. This is interesting because on the one hand it makes perfect sense, and on the other hand there seems to be quite a bit of contradiction with so many other writers, so many other books, so many other authors, and so much other information that is available out there. Makes it interesting, in my opinion. The first thing that comes to my mind is that not all information makes sense to us because it's not intended for us. So every single take, every single opinion is purely individual. Although, to some extent, it might resonate with other people as well. So just because something doesn't make sense to us doesn't make it bullshit. It might be absolutely right. It's just it isn't right for us. That being said, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what she said. So if you look at what you don't have in life, you'll always have less. And yet so many times I've heard that this is stage one, that you have to first face your reality. Because, especially in case of a person who is depressed, lying to themselves and rejecting the reality they are surrounded with, at some stage, people like that, and I'm also talking about myself, sincerely believe that their life is different than it in fact is. People who feel they are always right, people who feel they are morally advanced, people who claim to be spiritual, people who claim to be intelligent, hardworking, even people who claim to be abused, repressed, mistreated in whatever form, often get that notion. And they will always claim that whatever they feel, whatever they think, whatever they perceive is right. And yet, it so often isn't. So this would be the argument against what she said. That it is important to face our reality, to know where we are before we can start moving away from that in any way. You have to be honest with yourself, what is true about your life, what is true about your reality, in order to even figure out what must be done for things to change. So, is there anything that makes sense in what she said? is there any truth to the notion that what we look at becomes stronger, greater? Well, there's a saying I've heard that energy flows where attention goes. And that would be in line with Oprah's words, I think. So let me think a second if I have an example from my own life that would support this statement. Because for now I only have general ideas, general examples, not necessarily from my own life, but from my observation, so to speak. How people act, what people do. So let's start generally, and maybe a concrete example will come to me in the flow. Most people who complain about money are the people who don't have enough. I should know because I'm one of them. Always have been. Complaining about the prices, complaining about the possible income, about the low wages. Putting a lot of attention on that, how expensive everything is and how hard it is to make money. Any amount of money. Because just because someone makes $10,000 a month instead of $2,000 a month doesn't mean they are working harder. Oftentimes I would say it's rather the opposite. That the harder you work, the less money you make. So that's interesting. In a way, it's like looking at someone and trying to find faults with them. Trying to see something we don't like. Trying to see something reprehensible. Trying to find confirmation of what we already believe. I'll give you an example of buying a used car, which happens all the time in my country because most people can't afford brand new cars or don't really think the prices of new vehicles going in line with the product we actually get, which is also my opinion. So whenever I'd go with one of my friends to pick out a new car, because those are used cars, you have to take a closer look at many things. And the first thing that you have to get out of the way is the body of the car. Are there any scratches? Are the doors in place? have any window panes been replaced, what parts of the car have been dismantled and put back together, and so on. And the biggest challenge, in my experience, is always finding the first thing that isn't right. Of course, I'm talking about a car that is sort of in a good condition, because when it's a crappy car, you can see faults from afar. And it sometimes might take 10-15 minutes of looking around before you find anything that doesn't fit or that you don't like. But what's interesting is that once you find that first thing, it's so damn easy to find another. Honest to God, I don't even know where I'm going. Hold on. Where the hell am I going? I'm going to Vaxio. Vaxio. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but okay, that's where we are going. So, this is the place. So we are going to Gothenburg, okay. This one. And then everything else becomes almost an avalanche. You've got the first thing, and very soon you find another, and then you find another, and another, and at some point you are shocked that it took you so long to find the first fault, because it looks so obvious. Why didn't I see that within the first 5 seconds? Because our attention shifts to something else. Our attention shifts to finding faults. And when it's even supported by evidence, that makes it so much easier. And the same thing is with people. When we are looking for something good in them, when we are looking for something we like, we admire, or maybe even adore, respect, think of the people you respect. Like, I respect, for example, Alan Watts for his wisdom, sense of humor, openness, calm attitude. And so for me, it would be almost impossible to find faults with him, even though I'm not saying this is a healthy attitude. We should always look at people as people. Combination of good and bad. But the thing is, because I have seen so many great things in him, in the way he talks, or in the way he writes, at this stage it gets so much easier to find another and another thing that confirms the way I feel about him. It's the same when you look at a beautiful face. I mean, like a truly beautiful face. You know, one of those faces that you can just stare at for hours. And in time you start catching yourself that you're just staring at her eyes for a minute without blinking. And then you shift and you're looking at her hair. the way she touches it, the way she combs it, the way it falls on her shoulders. At some point you notice the way she crosses her legs. And you're just enjoying looking. And you keep jumping, shifting from one part of her body to another, from one tiny detail to another. Every gesture, the way she blinks. It's so easy to find more and more things that you just adore. And you're looking for yet another and more confirmations to why you think she is so beautiful. Do you think it's possible to do that with every other thing? With everything that you truly deeply desire but you don't think you can have? I wonder. But if everything I've said so far is true, and to me, in my experience, it feels true, maybe it is. Maybe it is true for everything else. The money I'd like to have, respect I'd like to have. No, I'm not gonna deny, I do enjoy admiration. I do really like it when people tell me, you're right. That's a good point. Huh, interesting, tell me more. It feels good when people support your claim. To me at least. Maybe other people care more about other things. I don't know. Admiring their appearance. If I were really attractive, I think I'd like that too, because I would have evidence for what they are saying. But because I can't see that evidence myself with my own eyes, compliments make me feel uncomfortable. Luckily, I don't hear them very often. But whenever I hear a compliment that I agree with, compliment I believe in, about myself, I jump on it and it feels great. So if you feel like shit about not having enough money, for example, what would it take to start feeling a little bit better about it? Because maybe if you start feeling a bit better about it, maybe if you can find some piece of evidence, however minute, to support this notion, to support this kind of feeling, maybe then things will begin to shift step by step. Maybe. It's a very interesting notion, and I have to admit I'm more than willing to try. And when I say try, I mean really try. Meaning do my best. And the one more, maybe last thing, because this video is already almost 20 minutes long. Sometimes people say, do or not, don't try. Like, it doesn't work for me, this kind of thinking, because if I force myself to accomplish something, I'm gonna get stressed out. I have to take it easy, I have to take it as a game. Yeah, let's see how well we can do. And then I'm free. I'm free to achieve great success, and I'm free to fail. And if I'm not free to fail, I get stressed out. So for me, this attitude of do or do not, there's no try, for me that kind of attitude just doesn't work. Yeah, okay, so I think that's all I had to say. And talk to you next time. Bye bye.